Hello and welcome once more. Doesn't Thursday come around quick? It does to me anyway. I hope you are all right. It's almost like a countdown, isn't it? Trying to get to the end of this COVID-19 thing. But if you're listening to me, I hope that you are well and you are safe. Typical British weather. We've had some lovely sunshine. And of course, as I'm talking to you, it's absolutely pouring down rain. What more do you expect? Anyway, my very special guest is Spencer David, and he should be on the line now. Hello, Spencer.
Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, all right, thank you. It's certainly trying times, isn't it, Spencer?
Yeah, and it's very wet in Coventry. May I say it, Alan, here as well.
We're about,
It's a lovely
I
day
think
for
it's about
talk.
40. Yeah, we're about 40 miles apart, I think, something like that.
Yeah, we
So,
will be
yeah.
swimming to each other at some point, I think, if it carries on.
Well, I was talking to my son. He lives up near the Humberside up in Yorkshire,
Yeah,
and I asked him what the weather was like there. It's just the same as it is here. So,
it's
oh
crazy.
well,
Last week it was beautiful when I went fishing for a week to get away from all this COVID stuff. Beautiful
yeah,
first 2 days was gorgeous, 26, 27 degrees. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We had everything from light rain, heavy rain, thunderstorms, hail, you name it.
yes, that's right.
It's the
Oh,
craziest 72 hours of fishing I've ever had.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Right, for people who don't know you, I think there's about one person in North Korea who doesn't know you,
Ha,
Spencer.
bless.
um, you're a psychic, spiritualist, and you're an author.
Correct.
And I tell you what, I tell you what, a lot of my listeners like to know is a bit about the person,
Yeah.
and it always intrigues me how somebody either gets into the spiritual side of life, or how was the connection there from early childhood, or is it like something happened that created? What was it with yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm not one of those mediums that has a story that I was talking to the spirit world from an early age. Although there was an incident with me talking to the spirit world from an early age, but I didn't find out about that incident until I got onto my path.
Yeah,
My mum was psychic and stuff, but she kept it very quiet for many years because it freaked my dad out. The reason I got onto my path was because my best friend took his own life when I was 17.
oh
And
dear,
I took a very dark road of drink and drugs to basically numb the situation. I was a youth worker and a carer during that time, and so it was a quite challenging, like 3 or 4 years of having to cope with a suicide, and really it was like the first person I like was really close to that died. So it was my
yeah,
first feeling of what death does to you, and it was really shell shocking. So I took this dark road for a few years of trying to block it out, not grieving and, not dealing with it. And a friend's seen me suffering with it, and she suggested about going to see a medium. Now, she was a work colleague in a youth club that I worked at, working with special needs and senior school children.
yeah,
And we were talking about all things spooky, and she was telling me that she was hearing spirit from a young age, and I'd become fascinated. And she dragged me along to a psychic supper, where you go to a spiritist church and there's a medium at the end of the table, and you have 5 or 6, 7 people around the table, and they give you brief messages in that 20 minutes they're there, then they move. And this lady gave me a message. She brought my nan and granddad through first, um, which it never really impacted because my grandparents passed before I was born. Um, but there was a lot of things that she hit home with that was to do with things around my life. Like, I was at university, she was warning I was going to fail it, because I weren't behaving and such. And then she suddenly said, "There's a young gentleman here." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "He makes me aware he took his own life." And she gave me his name as well. And from there, apparently, when my friend looked at me, I went white as a ghost. And she gave me some very valuable information as regards to his passing, why he passed, why he done what he did, etc. And it went from there, really, Alan.
Yeah.
Then I went then and sat in an open circle, and it went from there.
That must have been a very trying, unsettling time for you, Spencer. So it's a strange thing, but did you find that it was out of, you had to have something to kind of cling on to? Is that why that took you down that dark road? It's like, or was it like trying to block everything out your mind?
Yeah, I just totally tried to block it out that it died, and I was severely missing him when I was going out for social drinks. Then it was like really pulling me in, and I'd be like missing him and saying to friends, "I need to go to the grave," and etc. All through drink talk, all the emotions coming up, and that was when the emotions came up through drink, and obviously friends spotted it. But when the lady gave me the message, I was completely blown away by it. When she finished the message, I said to my friends, "I've got to go for a quick cigarette," and I left the church for 5 minutes. And I knew in my heart she wasn't lying, but there was a voice in my head going, "Oh, it's a load of rubbish," etc. But I knew something. If I could tell you what it was back then, it was saying to me what it was that was saying it was true, I could tell you. But at that moment, I had no clue. It was my intuition, my own soul saying, "Look, this is real. You are connected to this vibrational, eternal energy that she can communicate with." And then I knew it did help heal a lot, but it didn't take it didn't take away the pain completely. It still took a long time to heal, even though I was getting messages from him and having personal communication from him through meditation, etc.
Did you find that the experience then put you on a totally different life's path? Was it a feeling like you needed to help others to help yourself?
At first, I suppose at first I was a little bit selfish, maybe like some are, because it's about when you first go, maybe when you go to a circle for the first time, it's about confirming it to yourself, isn't it, at first? People tell you that there is life after death. We are this eternal entity, we are energy, etc. And without that evidence and proof, you don't know. So you have to go and look for it. You have to experience it. And I had to go and experience it. I was very lucky when my friend took me to this open circle for the first time. And I write about these experiences in my book, Expression of Consciousness. When I went to the open circle for the first time, they done a guided meditation, and they said that, follow this path up these steps into a library. And when I remember, it's so vivid. It's probably one of the most vivid meditations I've had in the 20 years of my life, of my spiritual life. And I saw myself going up the stairs into this library. I could see the books, the shelves, etc., that they were describing. And they said, pick a book. Now, a book didn't come to me. A ball of light began to appear in the room in my mind's eye. And it looked very egg-shaped at first. And then it started to form into a humanoid shape form. And all this light was coming in from different angles of the room in my mind. And then this elderly gentleman appeared. And I didn't know who this elderly gentleman was. I seen him very vivid, grey hair, thinned, side parted, glasses, lemon shirt, grey trousers, etc. And I didn't know who he was. I come out of the meditation when they brought us back. They asked if I'd seen anything, and I said no because I didn't know what to say, because I didn't know what
Yeah.
I'd experienced was real or it was my own mind. So we got through the night, and I told my friend, and she said, "You've got the ability of clairvoyance." Now, I didn't know what clairvoyance was. So she
Yeah.
explained, no, clairvoyance means clear seeing. It's where we are able to see things from a non-physical perspective without using our physical sight. We are having the ability to use our senses, the sixth sense of seeing things on an energy level. So that sort of cleared it up. And when I went home and I told my mum about it, I noticed this photograph just got put on the wall while I'd been out that night. And I said to her, I said, "Who's that man in the photo?" She said, "That's my dad, your granddad."
Oh,
She said, "It's this photo I've just had laser copied and I've put it on the wall." And I said, "That's the man I saw tonight in my dream, in the meditation." So my first contact with spirit, them contacting me personally, was my grandfather. So that was
yeah.
quite comforting. Once I had that contact, I needed more, you know.
Yes.
And so then I went to carry on sitting in open circle. And then for a good about 12 to 15 months, I was just seeing color and feeling sensations. I didn't really hear anything clairaudiently until about 18 months into my development. It was all learning to trust what colors meant and learning to
Yeah.
feel the energy coming in, and becoming aware through your clairsentient side of things that there's an energy present with me, and then it gradually progressed from there.
So at that point, um, was was this like a life changer for you? Were
Absolutely.
you questioning what you were doing with your life and what you needed to do?
For a couple of years, I wasn't, because I was happy with my youth work and being a carer with the mentally ill. So that was giving me a sole purpose and good feeling of doing something good. I've always been wanting to be involved with helping people. That's my purpose all through my life. I've
Hmm.
always naturally helped people out. Um, but when I started to develop, and I was becoming more sensitive with energy and emotions and things, what people were getting, I was absorbing that, and it was making me ill. And because I become so sensitive, and I was struggling to control it for a little while, and I had to leave my care job because it becomes so overwhelming picking up their emotions and stresses and so on. So I had
Yeah.
to leave that job and continue other work while I continued developing my spiritual abilities. And then I developed for about 4 years, went to Arthur Findlay College a few times, you know, had workshops with the I was lucky to have a workshop with Colin Fry on an
Oh, yeah.
occasion. And I was very lucky in 2007 to spend a week with Tony Stockwell at Arthur Findlay College. So
I've
things started to really change
actually
then.
actually interviewed Colin Fry and Stephen Stockwell as well. Um,
Lovely gentleman.
yes, yeah, such a shame about Colin. Such a shame.
It is.
But yeah.
But after
So
about
how?
5 or 6 years in my journey, I started to realize my spiritual path was the way. And then I
Yeah.
managed to get a take on a spiritual shop and sell crystals and do readings and Reiki. And then I began my teaching journey then, alongside
Yes.
a medium that helped me out, who was my mentor. And she sort of kept me under her wing for about 18 months, helping me understand how to teach.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair. So, did you find it hard to get out of the malaise of the drugs and that? I know you had the experience with your granddad.
Mm.
Um, but you hear so many stories of how difficult it is to come through that. Um, Once you realised that you couldn't carry on like that, was it difficult to actually break the habit, the physical habit?
Well, it's. I'll give you some truth here. When I was developing at the beginning, I was still sort of dabbling with drink and drugs. It was
Yeah,
marijuana I was smoking. I wasn't like doing heroin and whatever.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it was it was marijuana. It was smoking cannabis and vodka and lager was my fix. But I found as I was developing spiritually, it was helping me, but I was having the odd moment still of that
yeah,
escape. But when I began to develop, my guy was saying, look, you know, if you want to venture into doing church services and things, you've got to stop doing this. And
mm,
I said, okay. So I said, so it was like I'd done a deal with my guides, if you will. I said, look, if you can
yeah,
give me a sign that I'm going to work on platform, I will knock this on the head. And they made it happen quite quick that I was going to be put on platform with a load of other students. So yeah, once I knew I had a goal set, I was like, right, that's it. You know, I deleted contacts from my phone and just cold turkeyed. And, you know, then I started doing my working platform and so on like that. And really delving in deep with yourself, meditating and learning more what's going on.
Well, you decided to write a book,
I did.
um, and that's been published.
Yes.
And what's the title of your book?
Expression of
James?
consciousness.
Right, okay. And where? Well, I know we'll talk about it now. Now, and I'll ask you to repeat things after.
Yeah.
But if anybody is interested, how can they get hold of your book?
People in the UK, they can get it direct from my own site at www.expressionofconsciousness.co.uk. Or if people that are abroad, you can get it on the online bookstores and Amazon.
Right, okay, that's
So if you're
excellent.
in the
That's
UK, you
good.
can get it direct from me, and I can sign copies for people. It's £7.99 plus postage in the UK.
Yeah. So, what made you decide that you needed to write a book? Is it like an autobiography, or is it
It's a bit of
about?
both, I would say, because it allows you to step into my world a little bit, how I got into the journey, like I just
Yeah,
talked about my friend committing suicide and so on. It talks about that. But then obviously when I begin to explain my experiences of my development, I explain my experience and I also explain why and how it's happening. You know, what I'm experiencing if I was working with clairvoyance and things like that. And I talk a little bit about my trance development journey and what trance mediumship is and how that works. So although it is a little bit autobiography, that it is really to help people that are really at the beginning of their spiritual path and they want to understand that everything is energy and everything is an expression of consciousness. That's why the book is called what it is, because we are
yeah,
all an expression of consciousness.
that's very true. We are. Yeah. Did you find it an easy experience to write the book,
uh
or?
Parts were, the emotional parts weren't. When I had to really go back to when I was 17 and relive that day, that was a very difficult 2 or 3 days writing that part of that chapter of the book. You know, I had
Yeah,
to be left alone and because I had to really relive it again and listen to that whole conversation again, that not being notified of what my friend did. But you know, there was a point I was like, I can't write this, and my guide was saying, you must. If you don't, you're not going to heal. You're not going to be able to fully move forward. And people need to understand your experience, you know. So
Mm.
there was elements where it was quite difficult, and there was times it just flowed because one, while I was writing, my guides and the spirit team were guiding me write it, inspiring me to write it, you know. Um, but it was a very enjoyable 10 months to do it. I did thoroughly enjoy it, 100%.
It's definitely an experience to write a book. You know, 'cause as you probably know, I've done my own autobiography, but
Yeah,
I think all authors have their own way of writing. In my case, I got up 6 o'clock every morning, did 3 hours writing, 7 days a week for 6 weeks, and it was written. It's and then, like yourself, it kind of takes a lot longer. And I think it's how your mind works, and whether you're getting down what you need to get down. And when you've got such, in your case, you've got such an emotional thing to write about, losing your friend.
mm,
I can understand why it took that amount of time,
yeah,
because putting it down on paper, um, it's it's a rather strange feeling because you're actually looking in the self at yourself, aren't you?
yeah, yeah. I mean, because
That's how I
originally
felt.
originally started to try and write my book in 2000. Well, very early, about 2008, I think I tried to start writing.
Mm.
And when I decided, well, I started writing in 2008, and it was for a couple of months, and there wasn't a lot there at all. When I started to go back to it, when I'd done it last year, I'd only wrote about 30 pages of A4, and I was on like 5 chapters. And when I read
Yeah,
through it, I thought, oh my gosh, this, what have I wrote? And it didn't
yeah.
even make sense anymore. And all the things that I wrote in 2008, I didn't even agree with because my belief structures completely changed. My experiences and my knowing of the universe had completely changed from then to now. So if the it had been a very difficult book to write over that 15-year period because I've been contradicting myself all the time.
So you was rewriting your
Well,
book basically.
I was writing from 2008, and I had this writer's block for about 15 years. I kept trying to go back to it, and I couldn't. And in 2018, I went to a friend's circle, and one of the students there went into trance, and the guide said, "Why have you not wrote your book yet?" And I said, quite honestly at the time, "I don't feel qualified." And they said, "You are." And I thought, okay, I need to trust it then. So I just, I turned my laptop on in January the February 2019, and just stared at a screen for a couple of days and started typing, delete a sentence, write again, and then eventually it just came out.
Because it was meant to, it's the right time.
Yes, yeah, yeah. But I'd had I had like conscious awakening 2 years prior, and I started to begin to see and understand things on a deeper level. And that's why now, I see everything as consciousness. Everything is energy. Before, when I first developed with spiritualism, we were just talking, when you pass, you go to the spirit world, you evolve, and etc. But it was all just about the spirit world. What I've learned to understand now, the spirit world is not the be all and end all. The spirit world is a matrix or a system within multiple systems. There's a lot more to our afterlife than the spirit world itself, because we can go beyond that,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
Uh, uh,
because our soul is on a continuous evolving journey of learning and understanding, and breaking away from this primitive human form, this human mind we've got.
it's yeah. When you start to go deeper, and start to, I don't know if the right word is understand, because I don't think
We fully do.
no. That's why my show's called Understanding Spirit, because
Mm,
I've got to choose a title for my show,
of
and
course.
Anne said why don't you call it Understanding Spirit? It's because you can never fully understand spirit. I said, okay, that sounds good. So that's
Correct.
how the name come about. How the name come about, and I think it says it all really, because we have our mindset that we believe, but we've got to be open. Our mind's
Yeah.
got to be open. It's no good being like in a tunnel
Yeah.
and not looking what's going on outside. It's no good just being tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
I mean, like, for
and
many years, I didn't fully understand what this world was. I just thought you're born, you find out your path, and I was thought I was just going to do readings and do this and do that, and that's it. But then I found out much more than that. Like, we have this perspective or opinion, this view of what the world is like, but it's not what we think it is. This world is a total simulator of the soul. Everything that we experience, everything is an illusion. We don't
yeah,
see things
yeah.
truly as it is. We're only seeing it through the perspective of our eyes, through the programming of our 3D mind. We're
You
not
see that?
seeing the true experience
Yeah.
of anything.
Well, that's it. You see, because um, everybody has got their own concepts, their own understanding of what they're looking at,
Yeah,
and what they're hearing,
yeah,
and and people can disagree with you, and
mm,
you can disagree with them, but
yeah,
it's either your own or their way of looking at it. Now, who's right and who's wrong, unless we're talking about criminal acts or what have
yeah.
you, is really debatable, isn't it?
Because everything is energy. The words we speak is energy. The thoughts we think are energy. We are energy. We're cells, we're atoms, we're protons, electrons. It's all vibration.
It's right. Colin in the chat room, he says, meditate to reveal the truth.
Go within.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I must admit, if you look at life as a journey, a train journey, shall we say,
Yes.
and you know what the final destination is going to be,
Yeah.
but you can be put out onto sidelines. You'll stop off at other stations that perhaps you hadn't planned to, but it's
Yeah.
amazing. You'll always come back on the main track again,
Yeah.
even
Absolutely.
if it takes years. It's
Yeah.
it's a very strange phenomenon, really. And even if we can be tested. We can even go off the rails, but
Yeah.
we'll be put back on those rails if
Well,
we search and look out.
yeah. I mean, every situation we face, every person we come into contact with, every situation in your physical life is a lesson for the soul.
Yeah.
And when you come into contact with someone, your test is, are you going to be unconditionally loving to that person or not? Are you going to be
Just
compassionate or not? Are you going to deal with this situation with compassion and unconditional love or not? That's the test.
I've got a message for you from it. His name's Colin, calls himself paramedic, right?
Yeah.
And he's just put, tell Spencer I've just sent him a Facebook invite. It'll say old buddies. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Colin is a good friend. He's
Yes.
been on the show a few times, and he comes in on most of my shows, and he he's got quite an incredible mind, and he he's got a lot of good opinions. So you might enjoy. I would have thought you'd enjoy being in contact with him.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Okay.
It's
Right.
and again, that's what it's all about, isn't it? We are a network of souls. There is no separation within this world. The only thing that's separate is our own conscious experiences. They're individual to you, but we
Yeah.
are not separate from anything. You are not separate from the animal kingdom. You're not separate from this earth. You're not separate from the universe. We are all connected by that etherical light cord, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned like animals and that, because some people go, isn't it terrible that crocodiles ate somebody? Of course, it's terrible. That a shark has killed somebody. Of course, it's absolutely terrible.
But their
Look at it
natural
another
law
way.
is different to ours.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Their
say
universal laws are different.
yeah,
They're on a
that's
different
the
level of
yeah,
consciousness.
and that's their territory. We're
Correct.
entering their territory, you know. So they're doing what is natural, as
Correct.
abhorrent as it is. They don't know any different, do they?
Well, they're
You know,
predators.
right? And I've also got say hello to Spencer from Duncan from his old trance circle.
Ah,
Hi,
Duncan Adams. Hello, brother. Yes,
hello,
Duncan
Duncan.
sat
Welcome.
sat in my trance circle for a couple of years. Bless him. Very
Yeah,
good student.
excellent. Well, let's just have a little break,
Okay.
and we're going to have America, a horse with no name, for no other reason than I love it.
Ha.
Hello, welcome back to Understanding Spirit. I'm your host, Alan Cox. If you want to know more about me, you can check me out at thewilltoheal.com. And yes, I've got my own autobiography out, The Life of a Psychic Broadcaster. All good bookshops, Amazon or Kindle, it's all there. Right, I've done my own plug on my own show. I'll get back to my brilliant guest, Spencer David. I've got to get my own plug in, Spencer. Come
What?
off
Hey,
it.
why not? It's a dog eat dog world.
It is right. Well, what we were saying during the break, about development, and
Yeah.
there are some people who are kind of interested, but
Yeah.
they're frightened. I've talked to some people, and it's like, oh yeah, I think I know that I've got some kind of connection, but I'm frightened of uh, making that connection even more, because what about if some negativity happens to me or something bad happens to me?
Yeah.
And it's like the fear of the unknown.
Mm.
But the strange thing is that if a person is meant to,
Yeah.
if it is part of their journey, for whatever reservations or fear they might have,
Yes.
then it kind of happens to them. But I think sometimes if you've got somebody who can help them along the way and realize that it doesn't have to be traumatic, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. There's a negative in all walks of life, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's um, but I
You
think
can't have one without the other.
no, that's right.
That's the whole part.
Um,
It's universal law. It's balance. You got to have good and the bad. Dual. We live in we live in duality. So
yeah, yeah. I think the fact is that once you're actually thinking about it, if it's almost like your mind is pushing you, um, you can fight it as much as you want, but it's a one-way track. It's going to happen at some point, isn't it?
yes, yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's when I'm at home and I'm not doing a lot. Sometimes my guides come in, or one of my guides come in, have a little quick chat with me. It's not like a full blown conversation, but it's just like they throw thoughts and ideas in your head to get you thinking about things. And when people come into development, they see themselves as an ordinary person, and they see the medium as somebody superior. When somebody comes into a spiritualist church for the first time and begins development, they're not aware that they are already connected to the universe. They're not already aware that they are part of the universe. and they're not already aware that they are spirit living in an, they are a spirit body that is just being incarnated into this physical 3D matrix. Like I said before the break, there is no separation. The only reason you're not making communication with the spirit world is generally because of your belief, probably fears, or you wasn't interested. But once you put out the thoughts and the signals that you want to know the truth, do you want to know if there is eternal life? Once you start sending out those signals, the universe will reflect that truth back to you.
Yeah.
It's, how can I put this? Spirituality is the most natural thing we can do. It's just, unfortunately, we live in a world where we've been programmed and conditioned to not know we are spiritually conscious beings. So they've made something natural become unnatural.
See, I'll tell you what I find is that, okay, you watch the TV.
Yes.
And you watch the sides where they've got all the adverts. And of course, they're trying to sell the product, and everybody's got smiley faces and that. And it's like, if you buy this product, you are going to be happy. And if you buy that product, you're going to be happy. And if you earn loads of money, you are going to be so happy.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying, it's not good to have things that you would like. Nothing wrong with that at all. But you've got to look beyond that. It's like being brainwashed that you live forever. You won't get old. There seems to be something with the 20 and 30-year-old people that I think if you get over 40, my goodness me, you're on the downward slope. Well, I'm 70 and I'm still kicking at the moment, Spencer.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of world that we seem to have developed in. Well, the Western world, anyway.
Yeah.
You go over to other countries like parts of Asia and parts of Africa, and in lots of ways they've got a much more, shall we say, proper hold on what life is really about. Where we've kind of, I don't always like using the word the devil, but you could argue that the Western world, in a way, are dancing with the devil. Strangely enough, my friend Dave Ashworth wrote a book years ago called Dancing with the Devil When You Bring in the Light. And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
The world at the moment is trapped in consumerism and materialism. That's the 3D conscious mind. That's where that's the human ego. That's greed. That's all these material desires, the wants. But when you step into spirituality and you begin to meditate and you open your awareness to a new reality, a new form of consciousness, a new awareness of knowledge, you step into that fifth dimension of harmony and tranquility, unconditional love, compassion. When you step into the spirit, working with spirit, and you are working with your heart center, your purpose and your intention is for the greater good of humanity, not to make a killing out of it.
That's right.
If your purpose is to get rich out of being a medium, then you're not a medium. Not in my eyes. You may be able to communicate with the spirit world. Yeah, okay, fine. But if your intention is to get rich, that's not the true incentive of being a medium. You are dealing with souls that are broken. People are coming to you because they're clutching at straws of their own life because they've lost someone so dear to them. They need compassion. They need understanding. They don't want someone in front of them spouting information just for them to give them 30, 40, 50 quid.
Yeah,
You
that's right.
need to really connect with that soul and try to heal them. You know, I've done some private readings. I mean, I can't go into details of this
No.
for legal reasons, but there's one reading I did about 4 years ago, and it was a murder. And the incident was so horrific. I can remember everything of that reading, and it won't leave my mind. It doesn't freak me out now, but I saw some of the most horrific and graphic things that I could ever witness from the spirit world when when these parents' loved son come forward and told me how they passed. And
Yeah.
you've got to handle that situation with complete unconditional love. That mother and
Yeah.
father of that child that was murdered was completely devastated and distraught.
Yes.
And you have to give them your total, you know,
Well, it's a
unconditional
life.
attention.
It's a lifetime sentence for the parents and the other loved ones. It's something that they can't really get over with. That they might kind of carry on, but I can't see how anybody could actually get over that. It's
No, no, neither can I. You
okay.
know, I think when and again, this, when I first stepped into spirituality, I didn't realize how dark it could be sometimes. You know, the truth is, when you get into the spiritual path and you develop spiritually, it's not all rainbows and fairies. You are going to have to deal with some dark stuff. And throughout your spiritual path and your development, a lot of the dark stuff you deal with is your own self, your own demons, the things that you need to heal from in order you to stop things from triggering your bad habits and behaviors, you know, because situation and emotional trauma trigger things, you know.
Yes, that's
There
right.
isn't a gateway drug to drugs. Trauma is a gateway drug, is the
I tell you what.
gateway drug.
I tell you what. I can't watch on the TV, not because I'm frightened or anything like that, but I just don't see the sense of people in the middle of the night going to these eerie places and saying, "Oh, there's the bump here, and I've just seen something there," and and to me, that's just if you're going to get, I'll get rid of bad energies. I'll go in the
Yeah.
daytime. They're still there. You don't have to crawl around in the night,
Yeah.
you know. And I
Yeah.
think to myself, and it's all done to sell TV programs.
Of
It's all
course it
done
is. It's to hype
for
the
money.
fear,
Yeah, that's right.
to
Yeah,
make it more intense. You know, I mean, I've done a couple of ghost hunts. I don't do them very often because it's all through the middle of the night and they absolutely drain me out. You know,
yeah,
you're walking around trying to tune into the universe for 5 hours or whatever. It's not good for your body anyway. When I work with the spirit world, I'll limit myself to like 3 hours. You know, if I do private readings, I won't do more than four in a day if I had that many
yeah,
booked in. I limit my body because I've learned you burn yourself out. I remember years ago when I started doing private readings and a few come all together. And I thought at first there's nothing wrong doing all this work for spirit. And I got through by the end of the week. And come the Friday, I woke up one morning and I had the shakes like I'd just come off the drink. But it wasn't
yeah,
to do with drink. What it actually was, it was like my body was so exhausted and my central nervous system is overwhelmed from all this energy that you've been working with. And I was shaking for 2 days with this exhaustion. And I had to speak to my mentor. I said, "What is this shaking? I can't stop it." And they said, "It's your central nervous system. It's took a pounding." And
yes,
this, you've got to be very careful when you're developing, because when you're developing at the beginning, you don't have that power to sit with spirit for so many hours like you do when you've developed and built your own inner power. That's why meditation is important, and sitting in the power with the spirit world, with the universe, being at one with it.
You see, the thing is, your spirit guides. Um, I've got a close relationship with mine. Anne's got a close relationship with hers, and but the only if you want to call it a drawback, is that you do have to be a little bit tough with them, in the sense that, because that they don't. I don't know whether it's they don't understand, or they lose the context of time. Because I'll have you working 24 hours a day if you don't shut yourself off.
I suppose they
It's
would if you allow that. If you're going to allow you to do that, then
that's
they
right.
will let you work. But what I found, my understanding of guides, your guides, your spirit team, is you. It's your
Yeah.
previous incarnations. My Native American, it's me. It's a previous incarnation of me. My Mandarin was me. That they're all parts of the facets of my soul.
Well, that's why they're there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
they've got the knowledge from your previous incarnations, and they're bringing that wisdom forward into this incarnation to help you. You know, so really, all you're really doing is, when you're talking to your guides, from my perspective, you're talking to yourself. You're talking to your own soul.
Well, when if you give somebody a reading,
Yes.
it it really should make sense to them, and a lot of that reading should be things that they already know,
Yeah.
or they have that feeling in there that, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, you do get some parts of it sometimes. Well, they go, I don't know about that, and I've
Yeah.
had that a few times. And then you either get an email or a phone call. What you said to me, I
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't quite understand, but yeah, it's happened now. So, but I think the majority of it is something that your inner conscious already accepts and already knows.
Yeah. Yeah. All the answers that we are looking for is within us. If we the general human being doesn't spend about 10% of their life meditating. We need to be spending more time on a spiritual level. That's why we're all out of sync and out of balance, because we're spiritual beings living a physical existence, but we're only dealing with the physical. We're only healing the body through synthetic medications and foods and stuff. But we need to tap into the spiritual side. We need the holistic element. We need to meditate. We need to go within. We need to connect with spirit, you know, because everything is energy.
Yeah,
How you look after your body will determine your health. We are all electromagnetic beings. We have an we are light beings with electromagnetic field. Everything
yeah,
starts on energy level. So when we put the wrong things in our body, we are damaging the electromagnetic field of the body first. If we continue to keep applying that bad into the body and putting the wrong things in, eventually you manifest symptoms, you manifest a condition, cancer, whatever,
yeah, yeah. That's
because it
right. That's
all
very true.
starts on an energy level. And, you know, people think all our technology is safe. That it is and it's not. It has an effect on us, because
Yeah, it's
everything in
like
this universe is everything in this environment is electromagnetic. It's going to have a cause and effect, good or bad, on you, depending on how much you're absorbing.
the houses are built very close to electrical pylons as well.
Yeah,
There's no way that I'd buy a house or live in a house by them at all.
absolutely.
We're getting very short of time. Uh, Please tell everybody the name of your book, how they can get your book.
Yep.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, my book is called Expression of Consciousness by Spencer David, and you can get it from my website, www.expressionofconsciousness.co.uk. There's also a Kindle version on my website that people can download as well, and obviously there's the paperback version, but it's on other bookstore, online bookstores as well, and Waterstones online, etc. So it's widely available now. But if anybody, wants to contact me, they can contact me through Facebook at Spencer David, or that, I have another page, Voice of Spirit Publishers. That's what I've named my self-publishing under, because I self-published my book. So I come up with a name, Voice of Spirit Publishers, and that was something I had to think about. What should I name it?
Yes.
And then the universe said, call it Voice of Spirit Publishers. So it was like, yeah, because it is a voice of spirit. We're talking about spirit. The stuff in my book is from spirit. It's from my experiences. It's from my knowledge, my wisdom and understanding that I've gathered over the 20 years from my spirit team and my general experiences. So yeah, Voice of Spirit was the appropriate title for that.
Good. Colleen in the chat room says that you're right on everything that you're saying. So
thank you.
Okay. Really, Spencer, thank you so much indeed for being my guest.
It's been a pleasure.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been really good. It'll be, as I say, it'll be on podcast. So anybody who wants to listen to it can listen to it again. It'll be on my website, theworldtoheal.com. Anyway, thank you once again, and I'll be here tomorrow evening at 11 o'clock UK time for Musical Memories. This week it's 1978. Yes, 1978.
Yeah, I was born.
Was it? Oh, I hate to admit it. I was 20. I was 28 then. Married with 3 children. Oh dear me. Yep. Well, but anyway, I'm looking forward. I love my music show. So anyway, if you can't be with me then, I hope you all have a lovely weekend. God bless, and it's bye for now.